All right. Subcourse QM5088, Edition 1, Planning and Directing Petroleum Storage, Tank and Cleaning, Army Institute of Professional Development, Army Correspondence Course Program. Lesson text. Cleaning and maintaining storage tanks. Purpose of cleaning makes many types of bulk petroleum storage tanks are found in military petroleum storage terminals. Cleaning of this type of equipment is responsibility for using the organizational unit. There are many hazards involved with the tank cleaning and repair. Great care should be used before, during, and after cleaning to avoid injury to the personnel. It may be necessary to vapor-free or clean storage tanks for three principal reasons: inspection, maintenance, repair of the equipment, removal of sediment and sludge corrosion from the equipment, changing the type of the product to be stored. A change of the type of the product may require tank cleaning because the presence of another petroleum product may be contaminating the product to be stored. 2. Preparation of cleaning for cleaning. The preparation for the cleaning operation depends on the construction tank and amount of sludge to be removed. Of the steel tank for the military provided with the floor level clean out line sump and should be prepared with the clean out door to receive the flow of the sludge water when the top of the tank is cleaned. Large permanently installed with the riveted welded tanks are provided with manholes. The amount of sludge of the tank should be estimated, then plans made be for disposal. The disposal area must be designated the competent authority. If in wartime only the sludge is to be buried, a pit or pits should be dug before removing the sludge from the tank. It is necessary to transport the sludge to the designated disposal area. Suitable vehicles should be available prior to beginning any cleaning operation. You must coordinate with the local environmental engineer to obtain the safety permit. 3. Health hazards. Health hazards presented petroleum products should be pointed out in the clearing detail before the operations begin to avoid injuries, errors, misuse of equipment to increase efficiency. 2 or more members of the cleaning detail should be trained, tested in artificial respiration and first aid, retrained periodically. Dust. Once most of the toxic dust results from the cleaning of the preparing of the tanks, the tetrahydroethyl lead dust fumes also result from the removing of the paint, burning, and sanding of the burning sludges from tanks contaminated with leading fuel. Fibrose, producing dust injuries to the lungs may be generated with operating, sanding, sandblast equipment, gas, vapors. The most poisonous gas of the vapors found in the cleaning personnel in the hydrogen sulfide, hydrogen carbon, and vapors from gasoline, jet fuels are narcotic and could be result in respiratory failure. Tanks that have been unused for some time may be deficiency in oxygen because of oxidation or rusting. 4. Removing source of ignition. Rich combustible petroleum vapor is heavier than air and capable of traveling some distance when released. Depending upon the ground, the atmospheric condition of the vapor may travel 100 yards or more. It intensely hug the ground and linger in low spots and diffuse slowly into the atmosphere. Such vapor is ignited with the flame could travel back to the tank and flash back, and usually fatal to anyone that caught in it. If the vapors petroleum products are mixed with the proper amount of the air, there forms explosive mixtures with a limited range. If the vapor ignites in an open space where the hot gases have plenty of the room to expand, there's no expansion. If the mixture ignites with the confined space, the explosion takes place and fires connected with the petroleum products result from the ignition of the vapors before opening the storage tank. The supervisor should examine the areas surrounding the tank and the activities that could cause ignition and make sure that you remove from before proceeding. Signs should be posted to warn against the creating of the further hazards until the tank is vapor freed. Operation must be stopped if an electrical storm is threatening. Some of the common sources of ignition are outlined below in Figure 1. 8. Smoking matches. Matches are greater than the single common cause of the fires. They are used if tank cleaning should be marked to prohibit smoking. Housekeeping. High standards housekeeping should be enforced in the areas designated with the tank cleaning. Weed grass should be eliminated with a non-toxic chemical solution such as calcium chloride. C. Sparks. Such friction sparks, such as tools, must be carefully controlled because of the possibility of ignition of the combustible other flammable vapors. D. The electrical equipment becomes fire hazard through arcing, sparking, overheating, fixed to portable line. Portable tools, extension cords may be overloaded or heated up. All electrical equipment lights are used. The presence of possible flammable vapors must be explosion-proof, wire-proof. Explosion-proof wiring grounding must comply with the National Electrical Code. E. Static electricity. Static electricity is stationary electrical potential generated with the atmosphere. The friction between unlike substances. Although static electricity cannot be prevented, the accumulation of the charge can be prevented with the proper grounding. Spontaneous heating production chemical may be produced by spontaneous heating under the circumstances. Oil and wastewater rags should not be left exposed to the air, but should be collected in airtight metal containers until disposed of. Welding, and cutting. Fire hazards are present in using all methods of welding and flaming, cutting. Storage tanks must be thoroughly cleaned and vapor-freed before hot work is done. All right, Figure 1 shows the causes of petroleum sparks, excessive heat with around gasoline, static electricity, Enemy action, static electricity, currents, electrical storms, electrical sparks, spontaneous combustions. Fine. Examining the open tab, opening the tank, the supervisor knows the product is stored with the tank. Purposes of the cleaning operation, you should know the condition of the tank, the state of the repair, approximately the amount of corrosion slud history. Tank should be determined, including the type of the products contained with the data list of the cleaning, nature of the cleaning performed, such that the information could have been varying on the method extent of the cleaning effect of the preparation of sludge removal and disposal. The supervisor should ensure that the cleaning personnel isolate the tank and is described below, which is completed and the source of ignition have been removed. The tank may be opened. The man who opened the tank must be avoid breathing the vapor. A. Removing the product before the tank is opened, but the product should be pumped and drained out of the slowest possible level through the lowest tank connections. Pumping and the draining must maybe help with adding water through the water drain offline and flotation remaining the product, and no water is allowed to enter the product lines. When all possible product has been removed, all the valves in the line outside of the firewall should be closed and caution tags attached and water drained off. B. Blank off lines. Blanking off lines, final step is done by closing all the valves nearest to the tank, breaking the connections, placing the binds in all lines, blanking off to prevent vapors of the product entering into the operation area. Various items used for blanking off a line is described below. Blinding flange, blank ended is attached with the pipe after the removal of the tank valve. 2. Figure 8 blinded. The figure 8 blind is the simple, most common positive shut-off device. It consists of a disc section, ring section, jointed and reassembled. The figure 8 is shown in the illustration. The operation condition of the pipeline is not is noted by the observation which section is of the bind is exposed. The flange section of the pipeline must be unbolted in order to insert and reverse the figure 8 blind. 3. The slip joint bind. The slip joint blind is a device which is installed with the pipelines to permit easy insertion reversal of standard figure 8 blind without unbolting pipelines. The figure 8 blind seated in an enclosed slot is released and clamped and warmed. Ring gears controlled in an upright hand wheel. Figure 2 shows the items used on a blank off line. 1. The blank off flange. B. The figure 8 blind. And C. The slipping joint blind. 6. Need of the vapor testing. J. Vapor freeing. The atmosphere of the tank that has petroleum products should be tested to determine whether it's safe for the personnel doing the cleaning of the tank. The atmosphere should be tested for the presence of the concentration of the vapor should be examined for the oxygen deficiency. Vapor freeing of this tank is a hazard to operation. The anchor area should be vacated except when the vapor testing is necessary to check the progress of the vapor freeing. A petroleum vapor hydrocarbon vapor is found in all tanks which have the product. The combustible range of any petroleum vapor is between 1 to 6%. Any of the given volume is indicated with the chemical test. The toxic limit is 500 parts per million. Approximately 4% of the low combustible limit is the concentration safe for the 8-hour exposure without respiration equipment. Other significant percentages given in Figure 3. Tetraethyl lead vapor, or TEL, tetraethyl lead vapor. It presents all tanks used in the stored lead gasoline. The toxic effects of the vapor exceed with the petroleum vapor. Is also cumulative ventilating of the vapor freeing tanks used to lead gasoline is not enough. Safety personnel. These tanks are considered unsafe without respiration equipment until they are cleaned in sludge, sediment, rust, scale, and dust to the bare metal. Hydrogen sulfide. Hydrogen sulfide is rarely finished, but the product may be expected in the tank, which have then crude products with a high sulfur content. Hydrogen sulfide is present in moistened lead acetate paper, turns black. Concentrates or high hydrogen sulfide vapor are measured with a hydrogen sulfide detector. Is combustible. The range is between 4.3 and 46% of the volume of the toxic limits over the 20 parts per million, far below the petroleum vapor above, and therefore the hydrogen sulfide vapor is more hazardous. Toxic effects of the hydrogen sulfide is not cumulative to tetraethyl lead vapor. Oxygen deficiency becomes because of oxidation. The atmosphere of the inactive tank may be deficiency oxygen, even though the tank is empty and clean. The personnel should not enter such a tank without respiration equipment until the tanks have been properly ventilated. Figure 3 shows the percentage of the vapor concentration exposure limits. 4% over the low combustible limit with the maximum 8-hour exposure without the respiratory. 4% to 14% for the lower limit is safe range with the very brief disclosures. Over 14% of the lower limit is not safe for any of the exposure. However, the brief 100% means the lower combustible limit has been reached. 7. Procedure to the vapor testing gasoline and other petroleum products vapors except for the JP4, which also potential dangers may be too rich and burned with it mixed with air. However, the amount of the vapor in the tank decreases the range of 1 to 6% vapor in the volume. The vapor enters the flammable range. Safety requires the continuing knowledge of the condition with the tank of the vapor supply. So, in all times, frequently tests should be made during the ventilation vapor freeing during the subsequent cleaning of the original concentration vapor. The rate of the ventilation governing the frequent testing. Generally, a tank considered to be vapor free if the atmosphere is free enough for the petroleum vapor to be neither non-toxic nor combustible. Personnel can work with the tank without fresh air respiration equipment. The conditions do not apply, however, the tanks which contain the tethyl, ethyl, lead vapor, or hydrogen sulfide. Equipment instruments of the detecting measuring the petroleum vapor concentration are required for the tank cleaning operation. Instruments are designed as the vapor indicates the combustible gas indicators. Explosion meters, figure 4, most of them operate the same principles. Hydrogen sulfide detectors are used to measure concentrate of the hydrogen sulfide vapor. B. Operation. The item of the equipment mentioned above the operate follows the explosion meter of the sample tank. Vapor is drawn into the instrument through the sampling by line means of the rubber aspirator. The sample is drawn through the analyzer unit where it comes in contact with a heated platinum filament, other detector filament. The surface of the filament is a catalytic heated to the burn of the vapor. The contact of the small flame is protected by a flame arrestor which prevents ignition of the tank atmosphere. The burning of the vapor of the sample causes the increase of the temperature of the filament and unit and the corresponding increase of the electrical resistance. The greater the concentration vapor, the greater the proportional increase in resistance. The change in the resistance affects the small currents that flows in the dry cell better. The indicated the galvanometer or needle calibration instrument such as needle deflection, proportional concentration vapor. The dial explosive meter indicates directly vapor concentration. The percentage of the low combustible limit. It does not indicate the percentage volume. The lower combustible limit is 1% by the volume. The reading of 100% explosive meter means the tank atmosphere is 100% explosive and the vapor concentrates are less than 1% by the volume is present. Figure 4 shows explosive meters, sampling line, your explosive meter and accessories. Figure 5 shows the hydrogen sulfide detector breaks off in the glass detector and inserted in the frame. Reading shown in the percentage of the scale, and squeeze the aspirator ball 10 times to draw a sample into the tube. Hydrogen sulfide detector. Hydrogen sulfide detector concentrates the hydrogen sulfide vapor. The sample is drawn into the tube detector by means of an aspirated bulb. The reading is shown in the scale in percentage by volume. Frequency. While the tank is being ventilated, the vapor concentration should be tested frequently. When the vapor is leaving the tank, the ventilation of the test should continue until the readings instrument show no more than 14% of the lower combustible limits whenever the vapor is leaving the tank. If the tank can be lead the tester and enter the tank of the respiratory equipment, the reading should be taken and level about 1 foot above the sludge. If the tank is being vapor freed with the forced ventilation, the ventilator should be turned off while testing to create true sampling of the air in the interior of the tank is considered as safe. When a maximum reading of 4% lower combustible limit, this reading indicates the air suitable for the reaching without respiration equipment is well below the combustible limit. After the tank has been found to be vapor free and the cleaning operation begins, periodic testing and continued cleaning operation may generate additional vapor. Although the reading of the 4% is considered safe for an 8-hour exposure, high readings safer for very short periods. Reading in excess of 14% is not safe for the exposure. Clean personnel must leave the tank and wear respiration equipment if the explosive meter reader indicates a concentration of 14% or more. Alright, 8. Methods of vapor freeing. Large storage tanks can be vapor freed naturally, ventilation, forced ventilation. They may also be vapor freed with water displacement. And if an unlimited supply of seawater is available, tanks to be vapor freed with natural ventilation and forced ventilation must be opened to the top of the bottom. In order, the personnel who open the tank should be away from the wind and avoid breathing vapors. Natural ventilation. Natural ventilation, simple the slowest method of vapor freeing. The method is used only alone. Further operations should be stopped and only until tested and can indicate safe concentrations of the vapor being reached. The forced ventilation, faster way to the vapor of the tank, and in this way has been done by either methods described below. 1. The blowers of the fan produced with the forced will be applied with the bottom of the tank. Opening means of the canvas down duct, the electrical motor, gasoline engine, a steam turbine may be used as a source of power driven to blower. When using an electrical motor, unless explosion proof, the gasoline engine, the blower must be set upwind of the tank. Figure 6 is testing the vapors. Two, ejectors. Ejector of the air mover, sometimes called the educated the exhausters, the powered with the steam compressed air. They are applied to the top of the opening when the tank of the vapors are drawn out in the suction. Figure 7, when the ejectors are used, the vapor freeing the work of the sludge removal can continue uninterrupted. 9, safety precautions. Tank cleaning requires close supervision to ensure the responsible degree of the safety. In addition, with the fire and health hazards, many other hazards physically and also encountered with the cleaning operation, various physical hazards or applicable precautions are presented below. A, ladder stairway should be secure. B, the roof of the plates so that they become thin planks. They should also be distributed in weight. C, the line blanks should be also strong enough to withstand the pressure put on them. D, after the tank has been vapor free, there should be no less than members of the fixture. There could be no knockdown during the cleaning of the operation. That could be knocked down during the cleaning of the operation. Personnel should use the care of moving the hose line if line tank floors and very slippery to avoid slipping and tripping. The men should step over the pipe and fittings not on them. Swinging lines should be lowered, which when men are working in the tank of the avoid accidental release of the lines. G, the tool should handle carefully and used only with the intended purpose. H, the care should be used in walking on the tank roof, scaffolding, stairways, ladders, particularly when icy conditions exist. Before the tank is entered, it should be properly lighted. Explosion-proof lamps should be used. The portable cords are used in the lamps. Electrical operated tools should be connected to the ground third wire. Fixtures and the wiring should be present. Vapor should be examined for the broken conductors of the frayed insulation. J, when men are inside the tank completing with the cleaning process, the men should avoid the outside of the tank to assist them in any emergency. So figure 7 shows the use of injectors to exhaust the tank vapors. 10. Safety equipment. Each person of the cleaning team should be given the adequate protective clothing equipment to provide maximum protection from the health and safety for their health and safety. Safety equipment set. The safety equipment set is figure 8 is a standard. The item that is provided with the safety cleaning of the tank. The set consists of 2 fresh air respirators and 1 hand-operated central figure blower, necessary area hose, 2 leather harnesses, 2 lifelines, 1 exposure meter, accessories and instructions, 2 rubber boots, 2 pairs of rubber gloves. 2 pairs of rubber boots, 2 pairs of rubber gloves, the chest provided with a set of the ease of the carrying to safe storage of the equipment. The blower permanently mounted in the chest. The convenience of operation of the removable blower hand permits the closing of the chest lid through which the blower is operated. The cut in one end of the chest blower provides the space for the 2 air lines. Respirator and equipment. The first fresh air respirator used for the blower is the only equipment recommended for the use inside of the tank which have not been vapor freed in the tanks, which contain the tetraethanol, the vapor, the hydrogen sulfide, and active tanks which have not been ventilated. The fresh air repository provides with an independent supply of the fresh air delivered to the facial piece under the positive pressure. The testing using the respiration equipment must be supervised closely. 1. The inspection, testing, respiration equipment must be tested frequently. Most always be inspected before use and before being stored. If the repairs are needed, they should be made immediately. In case of emergency, a man's life could be depending on the availability of the spare equipment. To test the respirator for the leaks, the user puts on the equipment, chewing the material in the mouth. Should be forbidden with the respirator in position. The straps adjusted with the ending of the injection tube should be closed with the palm of the hand or by pinching the tube. The face piece collapses, then the no leaks into fit. The satisfactory connection to the air hose should be examined for tightness. Gaskets supplied with the set should be used. 2. Use some of the precautions necessary for using the equipment. Several of these are follows. The blower should be set for the face when to ensure that the fresh air delivered to the respirator. B. The blower must be intended to constantly see that whenever the man enters the tank, some of them must be tended to his lines and keep under the constant observation. The person tending the lines must be properly equipped to enter in the tank and for immediate rescue work. Figure 8 is a safety set of equipment: respirator, air hose, harness, lifeline, rubber boots, rubber gloves, explosive meter, central figure blower, blower handle, and storage chest. D. Hoses should be lifted out of the edge of the manhole, not permitted to drag. Padding under the lines of is recommended to prevent damage. Cleaning of the personnel must not remove the respirator inside the tank, even though the tank is vapor-free. The face piece could be contaminated. After the cleaning of the person should leave the tank immediately if the odor of the gasoline is noticed. The most re-entering the tank until the cause of the odor is determined if the problem is corrected. G. The men of the tank should not step over the hose line. Connections may be loosened if the hose is pulled or twisted. H. The personnel should be cautioned about walking around the columns and other obstructions because of the possible difficulty escaping in case of emergency. Alright, and even though the men should be available, the emergency duty should be necessary to send rescuers into the tank. They must be equipped with a respirator. Lifelines must be kept under constant observation. J men should be checked with the physical conditions should be revealed infrequently while on the duty of the illness, fatigue, and other overheating less resistant to the toxic effect. K, the respirator should be washed with soap and water at the end of the day. Hose and harness lifelines must be thoroughly cleaned and dried naturally before they are stored. C, the other protective equipment, clothing addition with the equipment mentioned above the following equipment protective clothing may also be used in cleaning operations. 1. The canister gas mask. The canister gas mask equipped with the canister approved with the organic acid yellow can be worn protective outside of the tank other than hazardous outdoor areas. The mask is acceptable for other use of the personnel who blanket the lines. Only open the manholes of the tank which contain tetraethyl lead vapor, hydrogen sulfide. Accurate time. The records must be kept in the canister gas mask are used, but the canister's safe life will not to be exceeded. 2. Goggles. Personnel who wipe down the tank of the walls solvent during the cleaning operation should wear the tight fitting of the goggles to protect the eyes. Also, some personnel enter the tank, knock down loose scale, the other deposit the high pressure hose of the scrapers should be wear goggles to protect eyes from flying particles. Rubber boots and gloves. Rubber boots and gloves are necessary protection cleaning tank. Knee length and the hip length boots with the safety toes. Preferred rubber gloves should be strong and long enough for the adequate protection. Boots and gloves should be acid proof. They should be resistant for the gasoline, oil, and water. Personnel who wear the boots, gloves, and are insulated. The boots do not have copper rivets. They should be inserted into the heels, discharge the accumulation of the static electricity. 4. Other garments in the cotton clothing should be used to decrease the generation of static electricity in the clothing. White cotton coveralls, white cottons are recommended with the personnel assigned with the cleaning of duty complete. Fresh changed clothes should be worn each day. Sludge, gasoline stains are not noticeable on the white and light colored clothing. If clothing becomes wet and particularly with gasoline, should be changed immediately. Alright, 11. Special precautions related to leaded gasoline. If the tank is held, the leaded gasoline must be entered with the cleaning of the repair work. Special precautions below must be followed in addition with the general precautions that are already covered. A. The tank using the leaded gasoline must have the warning stenciled among the clean out door near the manhole. B. The source of the ignition should be removed. The tank should be examined for the isolated. C. Personnel who enter the tank must repair equipment. The respirators must be worn on all sledge vests and scales have been removed from the sidewalls. Bottom of the piping force ventilated should be provided. D. The necessary work for the tank should be performed in the shortest time possible. All in contact between the tank liquids skin must be avoided. Unavoidable exposure to the vapor should be brief and widely spaced because of the toxic effect. Lead vapors are cumulative. If the sludge is buried and spread out with the weathering designated area, all the absorbent material used in removing the sludge, drying the tank after it has been hosed should be disposed with the sludge. 5. White cotton outer garments with white cotton underclothing, rubber boots, and the gloves which should be worn. Clothing should be laundered and body bathed each day. If the clothing should become soaked with gasoline or sludge, wet the clothes with the water before you take them off. If there's not enough water, the site of the wet of the clothes thoroughly grounded yourself with a piece of ground equipment by taking a hold of it with both hands before you take off the fuel-soaked clothes. The clothing should be washed properly and body bathed before fresh clothing is put on. G. Respirator, boots, and gloves and hoses should be washed with soap and water at the end of each day. The boots and gloves should be washed before they are removed. After the usual cleaning, if the repair is planned with the involved in the heating of the tank and shell that may result in dust, the part of the tank to be removed, repaired, should be cleaned and thorough further, sandblasting down to bare metal. 12. Special precautions related to hydrogen sulfide. Hydrogen sulfide attacks the exposed interior parts of the tank from scale for the iron sulfide during the galvanic action which takes place between the scale and the metal. Chemically generated electrical current flows from the tank metal to the scale. Flexing the tank of the roof caused by the piece of scale breaks loose. If it falls to the bottom, the galvanic action takes place at the bottom, often results in deep pitting and leaks. Iron sulfide is capable of spontaneous combustion. Rapid oxidation of the scale takes place when the tank is opened for ventilation. Heat is generated to the point where the deposits actually glow. The combustible vapors could be ignited. Precautions presented below must be observed when the hydrogen sulfide is present. Personnel who blank lines who open the hatches manholes should beware. The fresh air represented in the canister mask approved with the hydrocarbon vapors, acid, gas, yellow. High protective masks are not adequate. Both explosion meter hydrogen sulfide detector may be used to test the tank atmosphere. Personnel must enter the tank without fresh air respiratory until the test show no more than 4% of the lower combustible liquid. Limit petroleum vapor no more than 20 parts per million of the hydrogen sulfide. Contact between air and iron sulfide scale should be prevented with the heat generated oxidation should be dissipated with the tank atmosphere below the combustible limit of hydrogen sulfide petroleum vapor, which the tank should be steamed effectively with the iron sulfide roof of the sidewall components adequately blanketed and soaked and condensated until the tank atmosphere is no longer combustible. D. When the atmosphere is safe and the high pressure water hoses is knocked down to the scale, the sludge water where it is be safe and is removed from the sludge to prevent spontaneous combustion after the removal of sludge is kept wet until they dispose of them properly. 13. Cleaning tanks. A number of cleaners designed to remove the sludge that rusts and scale from the tanks that chemical action are available for the commercial market. And currently, they are not standard items that issue the Army supply system may be obtained with local purchase. Some of the produce excellent results with steel bolted tanks, same time, save time and manpower for cleaning large permanent type tanks. Chemical cleaners emulsify with the sludge and film with the floor slide walls of the tank. The grease is loosened and suspended with emulsion similar of the action soap with the water when washing and wash away with the water to clean the tank. The solution of the cleaner is mixed with water according to the manufacturer instructions. Sprayed when the side of the tank is usually allowed to remain in the tank overnight. The walls and the floors are hosed down with water and the emulsion flushed out of the clean door into the sump. 14. Cleaning the above-ground tanks not vapor-free. Personnel should not be required to enter the tanks that contain the vapors if it can be avoided. However, the cleaning without the vapor-free may be justified under certain circumstances. Some of these are, the tetraethyl lead vapor, hydrogen sulfide are known to be absent when facilities vapor-free are limited when the water is not available with sufficient quantities for vapor displacement and flushing. When the quantity of sludge and corrosion is small, the tank must be cleaned without being freed with the vapors. All safety precautions should be followed. The source of ignition must be removed. The tanks must be explained with the isolated liquid sludge and pumped from the tank pumping that can be facilitated. Loosening the scale must move before means of the high pressure water hose directed to the outside. If the hose and the hose nozzle must be bounded with the tank shell, all personnel entering the tank must be equipped with the fresh air respirator, hose line, lifelines, impermeable rubber boots, gloves, paddles, wooden scrapers, bucket, brooms, mops, rags, other absorbent lint-free materials, and remain sludge scale and other deposits removed from the tank walls, floors, and scraping and sludge and other deposits are removed from the tank in the short time possible. The tank is rinsed by hosing and then mopped with cloths. 15. Cleaning underground tanks. Underground petroleum storage tanks usually are welded steel concrete construction. Underground steel tanks are similar to above-ground welded steel tanks, except that they are designed to withstand severe weight stresses. Most vertical steel tanks, most horizontal steel tanks are 3,000 gallons per capacity, open provided with the manholes to permit the entry of the cleaning of the personnel. Interior of the steel tanks may be coated a variety of the shapes designed for the underground concrete tank may be found overseas. However, the rectangular cylindrical tanks are most common. The rectangular tanks are usually installed horizontally, with the cylindrical tanks are usually installed vertically. The most concrete tanks are provided with the manholes to permit entry. The most are lined to prevent leakage, to provide with chemical and air barrier between the product and the concrete surface. The tanks are used to heavy products are usually coated with sodium silicate solution. Those are used to light products usually soft surface and laminated linings of organic materials, synthetic rubber, the sheath, synthetic rubber, latex membranes, membranous materials, synthetic resin. Some of these tanks are equipped with some thin accumulation of water and sediment. It must also have permanently installed the pumps from removing this liquid sludge from the sump. Some of the tanks may have the sludge disposal system, which includes the pump piping and the evacuation sludge to the disposal area. A. Vapor-freeing. Underground storage tanks which does not have siding open may be difficult to vapor-free from the above-ground tank because the vapor tends to settle at the tank bottom. The vapor-freeing with natural ventilation considered impractical. Tanks should be tested with the present concentration of vapors freed by only one following method. One, forced ventilation blowers can be used with the forced ventilation of the roof manholes open with the blowers to attach to the pipe leading the tank near the bottom to the ducts of the housing extending the roof openings of the tank bottom pipe is suitable for the purpose of the drain lines used for the sludge disposal system or the product of the input and output lines. Ejectors and air movers attached with the roof openings can be used with the forced ventilation pipe leading for the tank near the bottom at the open end to provide the draft to agitate accumulated vapors in the tank bottom. Water displacement. Underground tanks, except those are used for the aviation fuel, may be vapor-free with water displacement. Suitable means for the handling overflow water provided with the fuel removed with the water displacement must be placed in drums or other suitable containers. 3. Steam displacement. Small steel tanks may be vapor-free. Steam displacement. Steam generation equipment is available. Steam should never be used in concrete tanks because the high temperature is damaging to the concrete or tank or lining coatings. B. Cleaning procedures. Procedures in cleaning underground tanks determined with the mainly in tank construction is whether the tank is welded seal construction, whether it is not provided with a manhole to permit entry of the personnel. Applicable precautions must be observed for cleaning underground tanks. Tanks to permit entry in the personnel. Tanks are provided with the manhole to permit entry should be cleaned, but the personnel working inside the tank. Procedures for cleaning of the above ground tanks are followed with the vapor testing are frequently unfavorably. The change of the vapor concentration must be detected earlier, and because of the quick exit with more difficulty through the roof of the manhole, through the sides over the opening in the above ground tank. The seam is never used as a cleaning agent for concrete tanks. Water is applied for the under pressure of the tank. Iron tank interior is scrubbed with a brush. A suitable solvent such as kerosene. Tank linings and coatings must not be damaged. Tanks do not permit entry to the personnel. Tanks are not provided with the manholes to permit those that are somehow work with the tank and would be impractical must be cleaned and applied with the cleaning agent from the outside. Best cleaning agent for the purpose of the same combination of steam. Suitable solvents such as kerosene. A 50-gallon per minute pump assembly is used to remove sludge. Cleaning agents for the tank of the pumping assembly placed with the wind well away from the tank unless for the pumping assembly. The explosion-proof electrical power motor of the cleaning process repeated until the tank is cleaning with a heavy deposit of sludge, sometimes loosened with the scrubbing of the tank interior with the brushes attached with the long poles. 16. Cleaning the pump assembly. When the 50-gallon per minute pumping assembly head and hose have been used to remove sludge from the tank, the equipment is contained with the sludge. The tank is contaminated should be cleaned as follows. The sludge and the water have been removed from the tank. The sump of the section should be inserted with the drum clear with the come up with the source. The supply of the pump should be operated with the pump and the suction discharge line through the thoroughly flushed. After the pump lines have been flushed with water, they should be flushed with a gallon of 2 solvent. The solvent with the both holes should be drained into the pump. The solvent drained from the pump. The solvent should be examined to determine whether the further flushing is necessary. 17. Removal of the sludge. Procedure for removing the sludge from the tanks are discussed below. The liquid sludge should be pumped directly to the tank disposal area to the tank vehicle. Figure 9. This can be done inserting the suction hose with the 50-gallon per minute pumping assembly through the manhole lower tanking open. The high-pressure water can be used for the knockdown loose rust scale and water waste permit and waste material in the proper prepared sump. In addition to the dumping of the sludge out of the tank, the sludge can be shuffled into the wheelbarrows of the trucks, moved into the disposal areas. 50-gallon per minute pumps are used to move the sludge from the sump to the tank of the vehicle. Testing the vapor concentration should be continued. Aggregation of the sludge properly release the additional vapor. If the vapor is being generated in excessive quantities, personnel should leave the tank until the test proves that the tank atmosphere is safe. Figure 9 shows the pumping sludge from a tank of the tank vehicle. Figure 10 shows the pumping of the sludge from a sump to a tank vehicle. The remaining sludge should be removed with the scraping. It can be shoveled into buckets handled through the manhole, cleaning out the door loaded with the wheelbarrows removed through the lower tank opening of the permanently installed tank. E. The remaining the rust and scale of the deposits removed with the scraper, the fire brushes. In case of the extreme corrosion, sandblasting may be necessary. Scaffolding may be erected for the purpose of work in the work areas in the tank. Deadwood should be freed. Product scale and sludge holes may be drilled in the bottom of the hole. Hollow roof supports to allow the drainage flushing from the top. If necessary, the walls of the floor of the tank will be wiped down with kerosene. The tank should be rinsed and hosing walls of the floor. And then moisture can be taken with the mopping, wiping the lint-free cloths. The inspection date service performed with the cleaning date should be entered with the utilities inspection service record. DA form 4177. The cleaning date should be stenciled near the manhole clean outdoors or any other place in that is easily seen. 18. Sludge disposal. The method of sludge disposal upon whether the sludge is leaded or unleaded on the availability of disposal areas prior to the disposing sludge coordinated with the local environmental engineer. Ensure the disposal method complies with local, state, federal laws, environmental protection as required in Stat AR 201. Leaded sludge may be disposed through the property disposal office. Otherwise, lead sludge should be kept until buried spread out. Whether the personnel should be aware of the same spot. Protective clothing out utilized with the tank clothing. The respirator masks are not needed unless the vapor can be detected at face level. When burying, the sludge may be buried into the pit's designated area away from population concentration. Sludge may be covered over the deposit to prevent the sludge being distributed in the future. Weathering, decontamination, sludge weathering offers means the disposal whether the place is space repeated but the burying is not available. The location should be remote, smooth and well drained, ventilated if possible. Sunny sludge should be spread to the depth of 3 inches or less. The area roped off and posted the sludge and left in place in the period for 4 weeks during the temperature is above 32 degrees Fahrenheit. If the temperature goes below the freezing weather, the period should be extended for a corresponding length. After the weathering, the sludge head can be created with a non-toxic waste and left in place with ropes and signs and removed. B. Unleaded sludge. Unleaded sludge may be buried and pumped into dry wells and may also be destroyed by burning it into a high-intensity furnace. And that, my friend, was Planning and Directing Petroleum Storage Tank QM 5088 Edition 1, Planning and Directing Petroleum Storage Tank APID, Aipd, Army Institute Professional Development, or Army Correspondence Course Program.